Hello, dear friends. It is me, your favorite space uncle, and it's time once again for a story. A very specific story, a very introspective and interesting tale. I haven't read all the way through it, but I have read a few things, and from what I read, I have to be honest with you, these are the kind of stories that I find the most interesting. So let's get right into it. From Reddit user Just an Alien, and I like your name, it's very elite speak. This is My Tale of Neckbeardom. Okay, so I'm not necessarily proud of the contents of this post, but I think me telling this story is going to be therapeutic for me, and maybe we can have some good laughs. My neckbeard journey begins like many neckbeard stories do. My grandfather teaches karate. I watched a lot of Power Rangers in my early childhood and loved every second of it. What really captivated me was the stunts and fight choreography. I later learned what it was called, martial arts, or karate in particular. I was absolutely enraptured by the fighting discipline. It was like a dance used to beat someone into the dirt. From that day forward, it became an obsession that persists to this very day. I as well grew up with Power Rangers, so I feel that. Fast forward a bit, and I'm in elementary school. That is when the next symptom manifests. I'm introduced to and fell in love with anime. The show that created this monster was, no surprise, Pokemon. Yup. Since my introduction to this show and game, I was, for all intents and purposes, swept off my feet. It was a pretty popular franchise amongst my peers, so it doesn't seem too terribly out of the norm. It was around this time that I started exhibiting other behaviors of the typical neckbeard, pestering girls who aren't even interested in getting to know me, just silly crushes, nothing ever considered seriously acting on, poor hygiene, not taking rejection well, and dressing in clothes that made everyone convinced that I was an alien pretending to be human. To add some additional context, I was diagnosed with Asperger's syndrome, which is a high-functioning form of autism. Before we continue, I realize that a lot of you, because I've gotten comments about this, don't like the way that I say Asperger's syndrome, so because of that, Asperger's syndrome. Fucking be mad, I don't care. Moving on, I began indulging in various animes, like Mobile Fighter G Gundam. Oh, I know who that one is. Yu Yu Hakusho, that's one of Sango's favorites. Dragon Ball Z, Rurouni Kenshin, the Tenchi franchise, etc. I still indulge in anime, but my zeal for it has greatly diminished, being that I'm 29 and got introduced to live-action shows that I enjoy. Letterkenny, The X-Files, Scrubs. You have good taste. I like you. Fast forward more, and we reach my middle school years. One would think that I'd have at least one girl that I would badger nonstop for affection, but surprisingly I didn't. I had a lot of crushes, but nothing seriously tried my luck with, just appreciated at a distance. I had a crush on this Korean girl in 8th grade, but I didn't even bother trying because I'd been beaten down enough by the opposite sex to not even think about trying out of fear of being called a creep. Fast forward to high school and things get a little rough. Around this time, I only remained in said school for 1 year before moving back to the Midwestern U.S. I was in Colorado Springs. So in freshman year, I run into this girl who compliments me on my Naruto headband that I was wearing around my waist. American schools didn't like kids wearing hats for some reason. Yeah, so it's not just down here. Apparently it's all of them. That is... What's up with that? It's fucking weird, isn't it? I don't understand it. We carried out a nice conversation that went from common interest to friendship to romantic relationship. It crashed and burned, no thanks to either of us. It's unusual for something like this to happen to a neckbeard, but it happens to others, and it happened to me. I remember feeling so elated when we first started dating, but it was a collaborative effort that ended the relationship. For the sake of staying on topic, I'll only disclose what I did wrong. I was 15 at the time and concerned about appearances. I wanted to look tough and mysterious to try and impress my girl, so I'd act like an edgy douchebag. We were both pretty reserved and never really opened up to each other, but that didn't excuse my behavior. She started acting out, and I blamed myself for it for so long. I stopped feeling sorry for her after finding out some things from her other friends, but I digress. I almost forgot to mention the anime club. What more needs to be said? It was a club of fellow anime enthusiasts, which I quickly and eagerly joined. I probably don't need to mention what this crowd was like, but I will anyway. Think of every neckbeard/legbeard stereotype, and that describes pretty much everyone there. After freshman year and moving to Iowa, I went to a rural community high school. It was here I decided to change some things about myself. There was a girl I had an on and off again relationship up until I was about 17. She was more of a practice girl than anything. My interactions with this girl grew more and more sexual until we finally did the full-blown deed. It was the experience that I treasured more than the girl whom I lost my virginity. I never really considered her that serious and wish I could take that back because she didn't deserve to be used like that. How I treated her is one of my biggest regrets, but she's not the one that I badgered for a date. Her name was Kelly. She was a slender blonde with the sweetest voice I'd ever heard. I thought she was the most beautiful girl I'd ever laid eyes on, and she was into anime and really smart to boot. Let the embarrassment commence. I wanted to ask her to the homecoming dance, but she was already dating someone. I was so shattered, I even cried in my algebra class. I regret to say math was not my strong suit. I actually relate to that. I also am terrible at math. The next week, she was nothing but nice to me, only for the kindness to be returned with mean remarks and staring of daggers. She literally did nothing wrong, and I treated her horribly. High school's a hell of a drug, my dude. To add insult to injury, I started practically begging her to date me after she broke up with her boyfriend, which, looking back, was the epitome of slimy. I want to message her and apologize profusely for my horrible behavior, but I can't bring myself to do it, on account of things I said about her in confidence with a friend of mine. I hadn't quite outgrown my edgy phase, and I'd said things about harming people that made my peers worry for my mental health. It didn't help that my father made comments like that in regards to the former president. My reasoning was that if he could toss around vague looming threats of things like that without intentions of actually acting on them, why couldn't I? We all learn the hard way, don't we? I learned the hard way. Speak of the devil. Talk of my behavior eventually made its way back to my father, who, of course, acted surprised and repulsed to keep up appearances in the community. Yes, he's one of those kind of people. I'm very sorry. It goes without saying that it was not a good day. It was the hell of my own creation, and I had no one to blame but myself. Nothing happened, and it was mostly swept under the rug. Did I learn my lesson? Why the fuck would I? If anyone's learned anything about neckbeards, it's that they're stubborn. College rolls around, and I drop out one of my majors to pursue another. This is where I meet another fixation, Caitlin. Another slender, sweet, gorgeous girl. Yes, she was beautiful to me, anyway. I wanted to ask her out for a while, and was mustering up the courage, only to find out she was already seeing someone else. Once again, devastated. I cried in the car on my way home from school. It took me a long time to get over her. I tried not to look at this as being cruel, and attempted to try to establish a friendship, which she denied. That was probably for the best. It was hard, but eventually I got over her. I had a couple of female friends who were twins, Brooke and Brittany. Thankfully, I didn't ruin anything with them because I developed a sense of shame after being humiliated by my absurd amount of fixation. I remember taking Brittany to see a movie and just to hang out, and I suddenly started to feel those familiar feelings because she and her sister befriended me through thick and thin and put up with all my bullshit. They never judged me, and I appreciated that, but I restrained myself because Brittany was seeing someone. I sat in the theater and let the feelings fade, coming to the realization that not everything has to be romantic. I was just lonely and wanted someone who wasn't going to leave me high and dry. Fast forward to now, I've come a long way from the edgy and insecure dweeb I once was. I'm on meds and going to therapy and couldn't be happier. I haven't had a girlfriend since I was 17, but that doesn't really bother me anymore. I'll sometimes get little twinges of that familiar pain, but I'll remind myself that a girlfriend wouldn't be ideal at this point in life. I'm still trying to put my own life together. I got 3 IT certifications in my downtime. I'm not quite finished, but I'm improving. Well, Alien, I guess I can call you that since it is kind of your name. I want to tell you that, personally, I'm proud of you. You know that you made a lot of mistakes. You've owned up to them. You've spoken about them. And know that, that this is a thing that you have to improve on. When it comes to talking people from the past, unless they really want to talk to you, I really wouldn't advise it, because then it's just like, don't drag things out if you don't have to. But if they're not really mad at you and they're not bringing it up, it seems like they probably either have forgotten about it or just kind of let it wash away. Honestly, the part where you talked about going to the movie with your friend and then realizing that it is just the feelings of you're lonely and want someone to, connect with, and not a romantic thing. It's a huge moment. It's a very big growing moment. We don't really have enough when it comes to, conversations and education on things like this that people need to understand. A lot of neckbeards don't really understand interpersonal communication and interpersonal relationships, and how they don't necessarily have to be, romantic relationships. Sometimes you can just be friends with people. But there's a lot of emphasis on this idea that guys aren't supposed to be friends with girls and vice versa, which is bullshit. You're not supposed to, worry about that kind of shit. You're just supposed to find people that you connect with and connect. Sometimes something more comes out of it, but sometimes it doesn't. And the fact that you not only recognized a lot of this, but also went through, looked at the things that you made mistakes with, understood that it was your fault that you fucked up in some of these situations, and then learned to grow from that and become a better person is really fucking amazing. That's, incredible, dude. I know that you don't obviously know me, and I'd never met you, but I have to say that I'm personally very proud of you. I think you're doing amazing. I think that the work you've put into this, the progress you've made, and all of the things that have happened because of that is just fucking incredible. You have every right to be proud of yourself for growing out of this neckbeard phase. And these are the kind of stories that I love the most. Because I try not to read stories about, neckbeard teenagers, because you still have time to grow, to learn, and, be better and do better things. And this is proof of that. This is someone who went through one of those phases, but then grew out of it, became a better person. This is amazing. This is incredible. So I really thank you specifically for sharing your story. I think that this is great, and I hope that you keep doing wonderful, amazing things. I know that, it may not seem like a lot, because we're just a bunch of random strangers on the internet, but I can pretty safely say that everybody in the Moon Cult here cheers for you and wants you to do your best. It sounds like you understand basically what happened, and, all the things that went from there, and that you're getting better. I know that you're going to do great things. I can just kind of feel it. Plus, I'm a unicorn. It's magic or some shit. Anyway, if you have a story that you would like to send me to read on this wonderful channel, you can send it to r/Moonhorse Stories. I will definitely check it out. It's my subreddit, after all. I have a Ko-Fi and a merch store. They help keep the lights on in here. You can totally check those out. If you ever wanted a Moonhorse t-shirt or coffee mug, because I do sell those, you can totally go look that up. They're actually really nice. I kind of own one. If you want to hang out with me live, we do live streams every weekend, Friday through Sunday, usually every night, starting around 9, and it's, central here, so whatever time zone you're in. Good luck with that. Anyway, I also have a podcast. It's on Spotify. You can check that out. The links to all of these things and many, many more are in the description below this and every video. I love you all so very, very much, and I hope you have a wonderful whatever time of day it is. I'll see you in the next episode, everybody. Goodbye.